welcome to the AusComX show. Another Wednesday, and this Wednesday we have Morgan with us. Other way. Hello, Morgan.
No.
And today yep, that's the way. And today our guest is Dan Macarthur. He is the creator of this beauty here, Metropius, sorry. And yeah, so let's get on with the show so we can have a chat with him.
Sweet.
Hey,
Yeah. Hey,
how's it
going?
going, guys? Yeah, awesome, hey. Thanks so much for having me on the show.
It's a pleasure to have you here, sir. And we have, g'day, Spedzi. We have bucket loads of questions because not only do we have someone that is a recent convert to comics, we're going to talk about what's it called? The robots, the AI? No, the thing. Augmented reality. We're going to talk about augmented reality, and we're going to talk about all that sort of stuff. But to begin with, I think it's probably important we delve back a little bit, give people a bit of an introduction to yourself and where your creative journey started and all that sort of stuff. So talk to us about cinematography and where you first got interested in film and that sort of stuff. Where did it start for you?
Absolutely, Morgan. Look, you know, as a schoolboy and as a young person, I was like, you know, obviously enthralled by the obvious things like Star Wars and, you know, all the great filmmakers from the early days. Special effects had a massive, you know, effect on me as a young person, Blade Runner and all the rest of it. So, you know, just coming out from that era, I was building models, I was making spaceships, you know, all that sort of stuff. So, you know, and then from there I just went, so I had this whole big interest in film from a very early age, and I was getting out with the old Super 8 camera and I was buzzing away doing stop motion stuff. And then I was lucky enough to get a job straight away in the film business when I left school as a camera assistant, you know, and this is back in the Expo 88 days, which is back in the
Oh, wow.
back in the
Expo.
dark days. So here I am, fresh out of school, didn't know the front end of a camera from the back, and off I went, working for this company, doing documentaries and corporate videos and all these other things. So anyway, that was the beginning of my career, and, you know, like cut to 10, 15 years later, and I was shooting away, making lots of short films and working for a lot of people. And then I started doing, once I branched actually into cinematography, I was doing a lot of music videos. So in the 2000s, I was working with a couple of guys, and we did a lot of big music videos that some of you might have seen, from Powderfinger clips to Regurgitator to Blow Up the Pokies with the Whitlams, and just like a whole string of clips that we did. Yeah, which was kind of like my fuel, you know, my, what do you call it, my advancement in my career through to the next level.
Right.
And then just so in the early 2000s, then I started to do feature films. So I went on to do my first low budget action feature thingy, and then that got me my next job, and that's how it goes. You know, one thing leads to another. So cutting forwards. So then, anyway, so, you know, once I got to a certain stage and of understanding cinematography and being a director of photography, you know, the next jobs came along, and off I went. And just ended up doing quite a big action film called Blood Money, which was, just this crazy Australian action movie we did in Hong Kong and Miami and all sorts of stuff. And that then led me on to actually head over to India. So I went to India doing Bollywood movies for about 3 years.
Oh, wow.
Shooting big movies over there.
So Bollywood then, what are the big differences you're seeing in that sort of setting versus what you were used to shooting over here?
Oh, for sure. Well, I mean, the budgets were crazy big, and that's why I went. I was like, you know, it's so hard in Australia to, you know, sort of advance forwards into decent budget movies here in Australia. So that's why I was like, and this opportunity came up to go to India. So I went over to Bombay, and I did was this film called Go Go Gone. It was like the first zombie comedy film in India at the time. So that was about 2011 or something, or maybe And yeah, so I mean, yeah, the Indian film industry is like is nuts, you know what I mean? Like you're just talking about thousands of people and you're dealing with the most chaotic situations, and you know, it's just like it's such a mind-blowing, you know, culture shock situation compared to the way we work and all the rest of it. And
Right.
I sort of hooked up. I mean, I hooked up with this director down there in Chennai, which is like the old Madras, which is the southern Tamil area. So I hooked up with a big director there, and we did like 3 big, massive films down there. You know, one of the films went for 9 months. I mean, it was just, you can imagine a film shoot that goes for 9 months.
Yeah.
And so most of it's like song and dance. That's the hilarious thing. Like you're just doing all these massive music videos because most of it and all that sort of stuff. So you know, it's classic material. Like, you know, I mean, the stories are just, you know, off the charts, and the whole experience was amazing. It was just, you know, they're beautiful people, and it was just such a lovely experience all over. Like, you know, it's always a spiritual thing when you go to India and, you know, dive in there. And then but you know, we came back to Australia, and we sort of picked things back up here, and so it's continuing on, and obviously the whole, you know, the Rona hit thingy, and but we at the time, just before that all started, I was just kicking off this new idea that I had because we've been writing scripts, and my partner Mel, she's a producer director as well. You know, so anyway, we're toying around with these ideas, and I sort of came up with this idea of like, I want to do I was in Melbourne and I heard the tram coming down in the middle of the night, you know, down the street. And I was like, listen to that sound, you know, this crazy tram coming down. And I thought, let's do a horror movie about a tram sort of thing, you know, like a ghost tram thing that comes along. And we work really closely with this writer called Ali Burnham. She's based in Sydney now, but we've been doing a lot of work with her over the years. So I said to her, look, you know, let's make a ghost story thingy about this tram, you know, we call it the Death Express, right? And so anyway, she wants this bit of a treatment. And then I'm looking at it, and I'm like, you know, and in the back of my mind, I've always like wanted to do a much bigger idea. Always wanted to create a bigger franchise thing. I've been working on sort of concepts like that in the past. Anyway, so I was like, and then someone introduced me to this idea. It's like, have you heard of diesel punk? And I hadn't really heard of diesel punk, you know, but I've heard of steampunk, heard of cyberpunk. And in the meantime, I've been collecting Art Deco, going crazy about Art Deco. I've always loved the sort of industrial stuff, you know, and all these aesthetics about it that then I realized, I was like, oh, hang on, diesel punk is this genre that I've actually been into all my life without realizing it, right? So then I just basically converted that, and I went back to Ali, that writer, and I just said, I think we need to make this whole thing a giant city. This needs to be a big city that's a diesel punk world. We're going to have hover cars, do the whole deal, and let's just write this massive world, you know, surrounding that. You know what I mean? And so that's how it all sort of started. And originally it was Acropolis World was a different title of the project. And then we ran into dramas with that name. So then we went through a name change. But so in the meantime, so this has just been building up. And I was going crazy, and Mel, my partner, was going, "You're mad. What's wrong with you? You got to be mad for this." You know that when the madness thing is, like, and, you know, you're dreaming big, and you're going, "I'm going to make this big crazy world," and everyone around you going, "You're crazy." So I was like paying for this concept art from quite big name artists from around the world, you know, and doing all this beautiful artwork. There's a lot of it's on the website. You can see it there in the back, at the back section or whatever. But if you dig deep, you'll find stuff. But I was getting all this great artwork done, including the post that we did, and I was contacting these great artists from around the world and trying to build this picture. And then I built the website. Sorry guys, I'm nearly there. Built this website, and then luckily we went for the grant for Screen Queensland for a proof of concept to do an animated for our show, right? Because someone said, "Why don't you do an animation? It sounds like a perfect animated sort of scenario to do." So then that was when, and then luckily on the, you know, it's like winning the lotto. Next thing you get the phone call, congratulations, you won the grant for $100,000 to make your animation, you know. So I was like, oh my God, this is actually happening.
Wow.
So all of this time, we've always been, you know, there's always been in the background, like, let's make a comic, let's make this a board game, let's do all these different multi-faceted areas with this project, you know, because it's a big world. We can keep telling stories in all different sections and all the rest of it. So so that was when we hooked all that up, and that meant that we had enough money to then bring on an artist, which was David Thorford Jellison, who was the artist, and we just went through months and months of design work and costume design work and all the stuff that we did, and we could, finance to do all that sort of stuff, So yeah, we made the 20-minute animation out of all that, and learned so much about Unreal Engine and everything to do with it, and I've dabbled in modeling and animation before, but so yeah, it was a massive, great learning episode, and it was just we were able to build so much infrastructure out of all that, so that was great. Yeah, so that's the story.
All right, so let's dig into the story a little bit then with Metropius. I've got it wrong already. Metropius is the title. So tell us a little bit about the story, like the current story as it is, or the part of it that you're able to tell us without giving too much away.
Sure. Yeah, well, Metropius is built into 3 different levels in the world. There's a lower section called the Roots, and down there is there's the Roots rebels, and there's a colony of rebels that live down below, and because of it's kind of a class structured society in Metropius. So it's Metropius is like the greatest industrial city ever built, and it's a retro future concept. So it could even be the 1950s and 1960s in the timeline, because the idea of retro future is you take diesel punk is like, we went on this trajectory and technology kept going. So anyway, and so then the whole world is the whole world sort of revolves around a bunch of corporations that rule the world, so that they sort of govern everything that goes on. And then part of that is the Roses, and the Roses are a faction of female law enforcers who basically govern the world and sort of set up the what you can do and what you can't do, and based down on the laws and what's going on in immigration and where people can go and all that sort of it. So it's quite a strict world, and within that is our main character Goodall. He's a detective, and hey. So yeah, just along with the story of Metropius. So our main character is Detective Goodall, and he was originally from the Roots, and he's come up into the filament and become a detective, and became quite successful as a sort of a semi-political figure, and so he's quite involved in the whole scheme of things. And then the storylines basically delve down where he has to go back into the Roots to meet up with his older self, and and he was with a wife, and she gets murdered, and and there's all these different stories. So we're sort of like the comic stories are like some of it's set in the past, and then it doesn't actually interfere with our main story, but because the animation is going to pick up in the present, and so there's all these different involving areas. But if you picture like our characters who live in this world that are stuck between two different major forces. So the rebels are all sort of doing all of the wheeling and dealing and the illegal activities, and then the Roses are creating this very totalitarian society on top of all that. So yeah, we're delving into a lot of modern themes as far as security and people being watched and controlled. I mean, you've got that sort of you've got all that what's the 1984 syndromes and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. So that's that's our world, and then within that our characters have to survive and they battle and against the greater factions. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at with the plot and everything. Yeah. So, yeah.
Great. So okay, so we have comic book, we have animation, we're going to get into the augmented reality stuff in a tick, because that is super exciting. The robots are taking over people. I wanted to ask you though. There it is. There's the comic. There you go. Nice. I wanted to ask you about moving from cinema to comic book. Sure. Both have a script, both have sort of storyboarding, both have art and all that sort of stuff. And how was that different for you from what you would normally do, or how you would normally, or was it different, or did you just approach it the same sort of way that you would do any sort of shoot?
I think that I mean the beauty of comic books is where it sort of connects with what we've traditionally been doing for a long time. Is that comics are just a great storytelling tool that are done so simply. Like, you know, you don't have the luxury of a million different shots like you do in a film. So, but just the fundamental roots of a story with a comic book, you know, and the connection is like, you know, we do a lot of storyboarding and that sort of thing. So we do sort of like do a lot of panels with the way we create things and show the story, you know, and then all that pre-production effort is all about storyboarding and coming up with a plan of how the film works, you know. So yeah, I just think it was, you know, I mean, it's such a great art form, and like it just obviously lends itself so well to this genre that we're doing, and it was only natural that we wanted to do a comic and all the rest of it. So, but yeah, it's just something I love. I mean, I've always loved comics, and you know, it's just so gratifying to have our own comic, of course, and and build, you know, our world. And but so, you know, I think, you know, to answer your question, you know, I think it's been a great little journey, because what we try and do, you know, as much as possible, is always working with different artists as well. And David Thor, he's such a natural comic artist, you know. So Ali was sort of writing a nice script and everything to go with it all, and because we're always sort of, you know, all working together on everything, and the scripts are being improved, and we're going through everything like that. And then it goes over to Dave, and he's, you know, creating such a great comic and all that sort of stuff. So it's just, you know, it's just a great, rewarding thing to be working with people that come up with such beautiful work like that, you know. So that's kind of, I mean, for me, it's always a pleasure to be working with so many different people and artists, and that's the whole objective of the whole project, you know, is to employ people and keep creating more awesome stuff, you know. So that's what we love about it. So yeah. In the future, it's like designing more vehicles and more modelers and creators and everything. So yeah. Welcome to the show.
And a tabletop game. Did I hear that correctly? You're looking at that as well?
Yep. That's right. We've been in production with the board game. So yeah, we've got board designers and everything who are working on and been workshopping a whole board game, which is basically like the city, that's the board, and then, you know, you come in as a character, and you can, you know, we've built in as many mechanics of the world as we can into the board game. Sorry, and yeah, so the roses can come along and pounce you, and all these different things can go wrong. And, you know, I don't know if you've seen any pictures from the board game, but if you go on Discord is our main area where we chat with everything on Discord, the Metropius Discord, which you can find on the Twitter as well. There's a link on the Twitter as well. There's a link on the back of the comic if you get a chance to get one of those. But on the website, there's a link anyway to the Discord. But on there, you'll see all the images of what's going on and everything that's happening. So that's just in testing phase right now, and then we're gonna, once we've, you know, sort of got it all locked down with the mechanics, and we'll start the artwork. But that'll involve a Kickstarter at some point to get it rolling and get it out there. I think because it's great to have the Kickstarter anyway, because it just brings another audience. Like, there's an audience sitting there around Kickstarter looking for cool projects, and they go, oh, I've never heard of Metropius, you know. So that'll be another avenue of people to bring into the project. So that's why we're excited about that. So yeah. So,
and you'll have it. You'll be going to Kickstarter with a bunch of stuff already, you know, in the pipe and already done and everything. So it's not like, hey, here's a little glimpse, and if you give us some money, eventually you'll get a thing. You know, you're already coming in with a body of work on the project. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, that's right. I mean, we definitely wanted to have, you know, like, we've been test playing the game a lot with different people, and, you know, I mean, we're keen to just really have it quite locked down and you know, sort of succinct about what the game is, and then we'll do some test prints and then send those out for review and all the rest of it. And really, the Kickstarter, I think, is about manufacturing it, you know, and getting it out to the masses to be able to get a certain amount of copies done, and people can pre-order and all the rest of it. So so that's our strategy for that one. So so that's exciting stuff. So people love board games and everything.
They do.
So what else?
They do.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the augmented reality, because I've not come across a comic that's doing this yet. This is the first one, and so everyone go to metropius.com. And you can find out about the animation, you can find out about the comic, you can find out about everything in there. But you can also, I just did it before, on my phone, no less. You can click on the little thingy, and you can see amazing things that aren't there, but are really there, but they're not, because of the wonder of augmented reality. So yeah, what was the impetus for that? How did you figure out that?
Well,
cool.
It's all part of the idea that, you know, with Metropius, we want to be, you know, we want to be in front of all the technology that's around and what's available. Like, because we've been using Unreal Engine, that's another part of it, is, you know, to use the augmented reality. So yeah, it was just more like a natural progression, and I always thought that it would be a part of the comic and everything to do it. And then yeah, it was quite an interesting process to actually get it made, to be honest. But it was great to get it done, because yeah, I mean, it did surprise me, to be honest, that you know, because I'm not massively in the comic scene or anything like that, like I have to admit, but I had seen the augmented reality stuff happening overseas. I think, you know, I've seen, you know, it's not the first time that it's been seen. So I mean, the idea did come through. I was like, oh yeah, that'd be great to, you know, have something exciting for our audiences to do the augmented reality. So basically, you scan this one here on your phone, and it'll bring it up through a HTML. So you don't need an app and all that sort of stuff. And then you point at the front page or the logo, and the train comes out. But so yeah, it's just exciting to be able to bring that technology to the audience, and that's just a really basic idea of what augmented reality can do. By the way, like, you can actually put a lot of animation and sound effects and particles and all sorts of things. So we wanted to kind of like step it up as we go. Like, the next comic's going to have a bit more going on with the augmented reality, so that we've got something more to offer every time. Because you can, you know, like these sorts of things, you can have objects moving around and particle effects going on and sound effects and trains, you know, like you can have a lot of fun doing all that stuff, which is pretty cool. So yeah, it's been an amazing, we've had an incredible response with the augmented reality, because we went to Comic-Con and Supernova, and took it there. We set up our whole stand, and yeah, and like we were showing people the augmented reality, and they were just losing it. So it's pretty exciting stuff. Yeah, great tech.
The next step is to somehow get into the second issue something that sort of hints to the third, or giving away something or whatever, or maybe a death or a murder that you can only solve if you look through the thing. And you know,
yeah, that'd be an amazing thing to do. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, definitely sort of like, it'd be great, you know, like you get to the point where you're like, you know, exactly, like you put your phone on there and you get extra information. Like, it's not, you know, you don't see it on the page, but then when you bring it out, you're like, oh, okay, there's something, you know, hidden in the page when you use it. So things like that would be a lot of fun, you know, to bring to the audience. So yeah, there's a lot of things you can do. So it's exciting stuff. And have you guys heard of the Tilt 5 as well? That's another board game, the Tilt 5, which is an augmented reality board game one. It's out for sale now. You wear the goggles, and it's like a board, and the whole board just turns into a full 3D thing with augmented reality. Yeah, Tilt 5. It's a check it out. But that's a really, really cool application that's becoming more and more affordable. So we're actually building the board game so it will work in Tilt 5, and then it'll be basically then like a printed version of that 3D world platform and everything. So that's one of the things that we're constructing at the moment as well. So yeah, so that's a really exciting thing. So yeah, lots of cool stuff happening. We're trying to push the boundaries as much as possible with everything that we can do with technology and everything. So we've built all that stuff that we did in the animations, all been built in Unreal Engine, and we've actually got the whole city where you can run around now as if it's a game. So we're setting up for the gaming side of it as well. Yeah. So that's what we're working on.
That was going to be my next question. If you're using the Unreal Engine already, is that the next iteration? Yeah. Wow.
Exactly. Yeah. Definitely a lot of I mean, you know, because I mean, virtual reality is having a struggle, and metaverse is kind of almost a dirty word at the moment because of meta, and it's just a funny little floaty thing going on at the moment with all of that scheme of things. But definitely eventually, like Metropius, that'll be the thing. You'll enter the world and you'll be able to go play different games, including the card game, and go and chat to people, and then go see a band, and you know, like, and do all these really cool things all in the world. So that's the kind of the end goal with what we're doing, including yeah, that's quite a huge tech thing world that's like blowing our minds every week, basically, when we're talking to people about the scope of things. So it's definitely opening a lot of doors for us, because we're like, Yeah. So it's interesting, really interesting stuff. Yeah.
And so how do you, you've gone to Comic-Con, Supernova, a few of those sorts of things. At the moment, you're just selling directly, and at the comics, I mean, you're just selling them directly over the internet and, at shows and that sort of thing. Are you thinking that you'll run crowdfunding for that later on, or just keep that as a, sort of ongoing thing? And are you also thinking, because I think there's, 6, 7 issues or something, or 5 issues, are you thinking of a collected edition, or hearing what you're doing, you're probably thinking of all of this and much more. What's the plan for the comic? And
yeah. Well, this is series 1, which is 4 comics, which will make up the whole story. So this is episode 1 of the 4 that we're trying to get to the end of, and that'll become a graphic novel, hard copy as well. And at the moment, we've got it in stores around Australia. So there's Brisbane, Sydney, and Melbourne. We've got it in the shops, selling on the shops. And I think once we get it to the graphic novel, that's when we'll have a better chance of getting overseas distribution with it, because I think, just got the 1 comic, it's not really enough for them to really sink their teeth into. So it's like a a long-term process as far as getting the whole package together, and then that'll just be like episode 1 more or less, and then we're gonna. Which is sort of based on the ground level of Metropius. So that's that storyline. And then we want to start another series, which will be down in the underground. So it's like all to do with that world. And there'll be connections between them and all the rest of it. So you'll be able to follow a storyline. That'll be another series of comics that'll exist in another part of the world. And there'll be connections, through the storylines to each and all the rest of it. So we're sort of slowly building the world up, and we're saving storylines in the past and in the future and all the rest of it for future storytelling. So it's a very long-term thing, and how these things go. It's tricky just to get things done quickly, but we're in for the long haul, and a lot of audience around the world that are loving Metropius and sticking with us. So we're not going anywhere. So we'll get there eventually. So yeah,
very, very cool. So you heard it. You heard it here, people. Get out and support Metropius. Grab yourself the comic. Get involved with the augmented reality. I keep wanting to go AI instead of augmented reality, but it's similar sort of thing. Get involved. It looks absolutely amazing. Sizzle, I'm just giving you a warning. I'm going to throw to you for a question soon to show you've got some time to.
I forgot you
to
do
think.
that.
Yeah. It's not all me, Broseph. It's not all me. Let's take a little bit of a side thing, and I might throw in a couple of quick rapid fire questions for you, and then I'll throw to Sizzle when he's had ample time to think of a question. I'll probably steal before he gets a chance to do it. All right. So first question. You have one choice. You have to choose Star Wars, Star Trek. What is your choice?
Star Wars.
So no hesitation. I think it's very, very common with you cinematographer types to go towards the Star Wars side of things, and I can kind of see, why that.
I do love Star Trek, but Star Wars was my first love. It was for me. So I saw Star Wars on the big screen when I was 7 years old in Papua New Guinea, where I grew up, in the drive-in. You know what I mean? So
drive-in. Wow.
Yeah, I saw it in the drive.
It was actually released. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I do love Star Trek, but that's how that goes.
That's fair enough.
Next.
That's fair enough. All right. So, in the future, let's say the far, far future, 2026, all ink is removed from everyone's body, and it is mandated that everyone must get one single tattoo that is unique to them. What is that tattoo that you get, and where do you get it on your person?
Well, it's funny you should say that, actually, because I've been wanting to get this little symbol tattooed on me somewhere. It's actually a Metropius symbol. I know it sounds corny, but see that little tiny little circular thing there? Oh, you can see it in the front of the logo. It's like I've been wanting to get that circle thing on my arm right there,
There you go.
for quite a while. And then have it augmented reality, so you can point your phone at it, and some crazy cool car will come out of my arm. So
Fantastic. Well, that works on a few levels because then you're also marketing, which is what you got to do, people. All right. So
definitely don't want to be over marketing. That's for sure. I'm not, yeah.
So you're allowed to pass on one toy from your youth to your children and future generations. What is that toy that you can pass on?
Oh, good point. I was going to say He-Man there for a second.
Nice choice.
Excellent choice. The twisty one, the one with the thing that twists.
Yeah, but it might have to be that or Kiss. God, I don't know if I got any figurines from Kiss, but yeah, toys wise. But man, I was a big Kiss fan when they were out in the early days.
Nice.
But yeah, He-Man was a pretty cool one. You got me there. I'm not sure that one, but yeah. There's a swag of toys there somewhere in my brain.
All right, so some sort of muscular figurine with either a twisting action or
Action Man.
Something else going.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Did you ever have the Action Man with the rope and everything? that was for sure. Yeah.
All right, so this is probably a good one, given your background. You have to invent a new color. What is it and why?
Ooh, that's a good one.
That's a weird one.
Yeah, fluoro aqua with a shade of purple. It's funny because when you're working on Unreal Engine, you can actually make these crazy colors because you can layer, multi-layer layer colors so that as the object moves around, it's like that metallic paint, something or other. But it's definitely for some crazy roller skating ring. There's got to be some really cool colors and neons in this crazy aqua semi-purple red color.
All right. So good luck. Good luck naming whatever that is. It is what it is.
A couple more things, and I'll probably have a good answer there. Howdy.
Hey, it's okay. All right. So, what is one of the hardest fictional deaths? And so, Sizzle, I'm coming to you next. FYI.
No.
What is one of the hardest fictional deaths that you've had to deal with? It can be film, books, TV, anything. Fictional deaths that really hit you. Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Well, yeah, Obi-Wan Kenobi was a bit of a shock, wasn't it? That's for sure. But
yeah.
I was going to say, I'm trying to remember. It's a hard one to answer, that one. Fictional death.
I'll tell you what. We'll
give me some tips.
We'll come back to it. Well, you could go Bambi, but Bambi's mother. But, you know, that old chestnut. We'll go to Sizzle then, and we can come back to that one later on. So Sizzle, over to you, sir.
We're getting answers for it over here.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Optimus Prime. Yeah.
That's a good one.
Optimus Prime.
Wait a minute. What do you mean? Is he dead? Well, hang on. I'm checking.
Okay. Well, my question would be going back to augmented reality. I don't know if you answered this, but where exactly did you get that idea? Like, was it from other comics overseas?
Remember I saw the Black Eyed Peas did one. They did a comic with augmented reality.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a couple of things I looked up. I remember seeing it, on YouTube videos and all the rest of it, and they were using it. And that was kind of more directed towards having an app and everything. So and once we sort of came to the crunch with the technology, using an app was a real pain in the butt and everything because everyone has to update their app and all that stuff. But anyway, so to answer the question, it was definitely something on the net. And I mean, that was why I was kind of surprised when everyone was coming along going, oh my God, I haven't seen this. And I was like, I thought everyone was doing this to make it interesting. It was definitely something that we wanted to do because, we were so close to the technology anyway. So we could just chuck it.
I was really surprised when I used it that it wasn't an app. I was really surprised. I was expecting it to download an app, and I'm going, okay, we go download an app, and then it just started working. Exactly. I'm like, holy crap.
Yeah, it doesn't work brilliantly, and that's the reason. Like, an app will actually use your phone tech to know where it is in space and all the rest of it. Whereas because it's just using a visual, it has to track the page, so it's doing a lot of brain tech with limited amount of resource to do it with, because early on we were using the app and it was amazing. Like, it's next level with an app because the whole room can fill up with augmented reality. Like that whole tram was just like in your room, and you were just like moving around the whole tram. It didn't have to look at the page, whereas this tech has to see the page, and that's how it tracks. You got to keep it pointing, but so you got to keep it pointing at the page, but you can tilt it up and down and move the book around and move the object quite a lot because it'll track with the page. So you don't have to be fixed. You can actually see it from all different angles as long as you're looking at the page. But it's avoiding the whole app fiasco. So it's good luck. Good that way.
Cool.
So
all right. So, have you? I don't know how you would have ever had a chance to think of another fictional death in that you've just been answering another question. But so we'll keep going. We'll see if anything gets done. Yeah, that's right. Sizzle, are you okay if I do something I do in my other podcast? If I just bring it in here, is that all right? You don't even know what it is, so
I don't even know what it is, so I'll risk it.
All right, let's do it then. We're gonna do a little segment I like to call the worst pitch. It's a very simple idea. Basically, we separately come up with a truly awful pitch for a film or book or comic book or anything like that, and then we just see which one is the worstest. And it's surprisingly hard to do because our brains are trained to try and come up with good ideas, but also whatever you come up with in it, you end up finding something good. So I'm happy to go first because I have a long list of bad ideas ready to go at any moment.
Right.
But so that way you get a bit of time to think through it. Yeah. All right. So, and Sizzle, completely up to you if you want to join in as well, dude, because I'm throwing this on you without warning. All right. So I haven't got a title for this. So working title is whatever you want it to be. It's about, not surprisingly, augmented reality. So there's a detective that is investigating some sort of nefarious murder and using high-tech augmented reality to see beyond the normal realm to see what's happening. And as he's doing this, he's, within the first 2 minutes of the film, he solves the crime and then he takes home his phone, which has this augmented sort of component as part of it permanently. And then he notices that when he looks through the window in his kitchen at his neighbor's studio apartment, he can see on the bench the food that will be on that bench the following day. So he can see into the future, but he can only see food on the bench of his neighbor's kitchen the following day. It's of no use whatsoever, but he becomes obsessed with this thing and he kind of invites himself around the next day. And then, but lo and behold, there's a quiche that was exactly what he saw and it smells the same as the other. So he's trying to think, what does this mean? And and as you're watching the film, you're thinking, oh, there's going to be a murder and he's going to use this knowledge of future foods to somehow, 10 minutes, the first murder gets solved, and then 2 hours of just him looking through this thing and seeing different types of food. Yeah, no resolution, no nothing. And we will call it. We'll call it Food Futures. There we go. There's your title. Food Futures. It's terrible.
Pretty inventive, Morgan. I've got to say, it's terrible.
Yeah, very.
Yeah, a great job of making something pretty bad there. This is really tricky.
Yeah. All right. So,
are you gonna have a go?
Do you want to have a go, Sizzle?
Oh, I don't know if I can. I'm not really a storyteller. Everything I come up with is a bad idea, so I guess anything.
Guy walks down the shop. He goes to the newsagent like he does every day, and he pulls up at the front, and he's looking at his favorite newspaper, wondering what's going on in the world. When all of a sudden a dog pees on his foot, he thinks to himself, "That's that bloody neighbor's dog. I'm gonna get that thing when I get home." And I have no idea where I'm going with this story.
That's it.
Well, I got stuck. I was like, instead of choose your own adventure, someone else takes over. I don't know.
I like it. I like also if you do a really long, drawn out, suspenseful, brooding kind of Dark Knight sort of thing, and it's just this dude going to the shop and then getting peed on by the dog, and then the camera sort of turns in, and he's all that sort of stuff.
He knows, we know all instantly which dog it is. You know, it's like
what you could do.
Attention.
If you wanted to make it really, really terrible, so that's your first 5 minutes is the setup and that whole thing and the peeing on the leg and the I'll get you dog and then the dog leaves and the camera just follows the dog for the rest of the film. But the dog isn't doing anything. The dog is just peeing on someone. The dog just goes and pees on different legs around the town, and that's all he does.
Yeah,
and then
exactly,
eats some food, vomits, eats the vomit. Yeah. all that stuff. So the rest of the film, you're just following the dog, and then nothing.
You think it's his story, and then all of a sudden you go to the dog, and you're like, "Where's this film going?" It's like, "Oh, actually, we're just trying to follow the damn dog."
It's the dog. I like it. Part of me, if I had an endless source of money and didn't have to work and everything, I think part of what I would do is pitch to studios just the dumbest ideas and just see what reaction I can get with these truly stupid ideas. That would be so much fun.
I think you can get those on TikTok, no problems whatsoever. I tell you what.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe the dumbest crap on TikTok, and man, it goes off. They love that pissing on feet thing with dogs. It's like that's some grand entertainment right there.
Shout out to Alex Major and the farting girl. What's the thing that he does, Sizzle? The cartoons of the little girl.
No, it's a woman. Sorry, it's a woman dressed as a girl who farts from eating too many strawberries. Yeah. That's all I remember. I forget the name.
Huge. I mean, he's an amazing artist, and it's animated and everything. Yeah. It's just amazing stuff. But huge. That's all they want to see. They just want to see this chick farting on different things. That's what they want. You've got to give them what they want. Wow.
All right. French. Yeah. No, you're right. Cool.
Oh, sorry. You go. What were we going to say?
Oh no, I was just going to talk about a cartoon called Lucky Luke. Did you remember that one? Cowboy guy.
I do remember Lucky Luke. I do.
Yeah, well, apparently it's still a big thing in France. Like he was watching it, and it was all dubbed in French. And it's an American cartoon cowboy thingy. But anyway, I don't know why I mentioned that, but it was just something that I thought was quite interesting because it was pretty funny, and not that I could understand French, but he was telling me and reiterating all the crazy dialogue and everything. It seemed pretty cool. Yeah, so I think they do a lot of great stuff for French, but awesome.
Lucky Luke, although over there it would be L-U-C instead of L-U-K-E, and it would be pronounced Lucky Luke. I don't know.
Lucky Luke.
French. Lucky Luke. All right, so Sarah, I will give you one more chance to answer the question of questions, and then I'll have one more question for you, and then we will do the big plug, the shameless promotion to get as many people as we can to support Metropius. So before we do that, the hardest fictional death that you've had to deal with. Has anything come to you?
Let's try to think. I mean, was it Romancing the Stone? When Danny DeVito, did he? I'm trying to think of the things from back in the days.
Was that really traumatic, Romancing the Stone? I don't remember it being terribly moving in that way. Yeah, that is the first time anyone has brought up Romancing the Stone in any context on any podcast I've done, let alone this question. So, I mean, that's amazing on its own. That's fantastic. That reference is gold.
Flash Gordon. I have weird things in my brain. I don't know. Just strange things go around. I wouldn't have a clue.
Right. Well, we'll say someone or something died in Romancing the Stone. I think that's a good enough answer. That's a classic film that I.
You know what? I'll go away and in like 20 minutes. I'll like, straight away. Why didn't I say that?
Straight away. All right. So the final question, and this one has a little bit of a stake.
You're not throwing more failures on the aim.
It is. It has stakes to it. So it is. It's not just an answer a question. It's if you answer the question the wrong way, it will go one way or the other. And I'm trying to undo. So incidentally, young Zach sent me a whole bunch of Bronwyn stuff, and one of the things that I got was a little Vivian badge thing. So this is what is going to decide our fate. I will flip this and see. The question is, in the far, far future, humanity lives life of luxury because we have a new sort of servant class that looks after the stuff we don't want to do. They service, they cook, they clean, they look after our kids, all that sort of stuff. You, as the decider of all things for humanity, get to decide which class or which group of beings are that servant class. They are either shackled demonic creatures, so creatures that have been, pulled up from hell and sort of shackled with magic and all that sort of stuff, or robots, AI, self-aware robots. Which would you choose? And then we will find out whether it is our doom or our salvation.
I'm going to shackled demons and dragons.
Oh.
Right. Excellent choice. Most people go the AI, but you've gone the other way. All right. So here we go. I'm flipping.
That sounds like way more fun.
All right. So you make the decision. Demons are now the servant class of humanity. It lasts approximately as long as your reign does over humanity, which is just a bit over a week, because they find a way to get out of that magic and they devour our children and give birth to hellspawn that then devour the rest of us, and we just become effectively farmed meat for the rest of these demon hordes to eat for the rest of eternity. So it
one bad decision, wasn't it? Really,
it didn't go well. It didn't go well. No, but who knows? AI might not have been better. The robots might not have treated us.
The robots, we would have turned into the Matrix if it was the robots, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Well, that's right.
Things out of the back of our neck, enjoying life somehow.
It was just the wrong flip of the coin. All right, so thank you very much, Dan, for joining us and talking us through your creative journey, introducing us to Metropius. People, you can go to metropius.com. You can find everything there. You can look at that. Just fantastic.
He's right on the button.
You can order the comic book. You can get involved in the whole project. It sounds like there's so much going on. So thank you very much, sir. Is there anything that you would like to say as your final word on the ComX show?
Oh, thanks so much, guys. It's been great chatting, and I just love delving in this world, and we're getting so many fans that are loving the diesel punk thing as well. And we just can't wait to bring more to the audience, and just stay tuned, and there'll be more coming from Metropius in the future.
Fantastic.
Guys.
You heard it, people.
Awesome.
Get out and support. All right. Awesome.
Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you, sir. You have a good night. I don't know how to end, Sizzle, because it's been so long since we've done it.
That's okay. Well, first we've got to tell people to like the video.
Like, subscribe, share with your friends.
Subscribe
as
well.
Look at that. Yes. And it's still bouncing.
Yep.
Yeah. It's going to do it until you subscribe.
Yep. So hang on. We got to thank you guys. Yep, not a problem.
Cheers, Nathan.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers, Nathan. Well, that's the show for the night. Thank you very much. Thank you to Dan. Thank you to everyone who watched. Thank you to Morgan. And I've got to get on the right screen to be able to do this.
You can't do it and talk at the same time. That's the problem.
Yeah,
you need me to be just talking. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
just to give you a bit of space.
Is there a music outro? We need some music outro. Applauding or something.
Yeah.
That's it, guys. Great to see you.
Good night, all. Thank you very much.
Guys.
Have a great time.
See you. Bye. Ciao.
Check out ComX.cx for all things ComX and find out what ComX is all about. We hope you enjoyed the show.